Hello everyone, welcome to Katharine's Q&A, episode 8. This is a series where you can ask an author pretty much anything. My first question of the day says, who is my favorite author? Well, I guess my counter question is, what genre are you referring to? Ever since, I guess, years ago, I've really enjoyed Out of Africa, the authors, Karen Blitzen, but that is not necessarily the genre I write, so I'll throw some others your way. The genre I really enjoy reading the most is ancient epic poems and sagas and prose, and because of that, most of the books I read don't have an author associated with them, but just to name a few, there's the Ramayana, there are any of the Icelandic sagas, some of them do have authors associated with them, Prose Edda, Poetic Edda, the Odyssey obviously has Homer, but so that era I'm really fascinated with. Now something that's a little more current, and I guess would be the one that I would have to pick for this question, would be Tolkien. And the interesting fact is, I wasn't always a fan. At least not of his writing. When I read it, when I started reading his work, I was definitely way too young. And though he was very dense and wordy compared to other books that I had been reading at the time. So kind of was put off on his style of writing, which was interesting because I absolutely love the movies. Because around that time I was also the first movie of Lord of the Rings was coming out, so that's been a moment. But I just wasn't really a fan of his style of writing. Now I've come back to it as an adult and realized not only appreciate the way he wrote, but appreciate how he approached his writing and how he wanted to express himself and him as a person, actually. So really become a pretty good fan of his. But to explain a little more why, Tolkien is a person who liked to go to source material, kind of like I do, where he liked to pull from mythology and find ways to take this older material that may not be relatable anymore and find a way to transform it and re-debut it to the public in a way that people enjoy. And so that's kind of how I want to approach when I kind of incorporate mythology as well. Some examples for him, though, he had a huge passion for Nordic mythology, as do I. And so kind of doing my research and getting more and more involved with Nordic mythology, I can see all the comparatives and parallels and where he pulled from a lot, and I think that's absolutely fascinating. For instance, all the dwarves' names are dwarves' names from Nordic mythos. Gandalf is a character from Norse mythology. Gandalf translates actually to Gander, which is the staff that the seeresses and historical seeresses would have held. And Alfar, which means elf. So Gander, Alfar, Gandalf is a staff elf. But kind of ironically, the Gandalf in Nordic mythology was a dwarf, not an elf. Go figure. But it just goes to show that he was so heavily influenced by old source material for these world mythologies, and he found ways to give them new life, which because of that, I will choose Tolkien as my favorite author, though I could name a whole bunch others, but have to pick one, I'd pick him. Okay, let's see. I have one other question I could probably slot in. If you could visit anywhere in the world, where would I go? Do I have to pick just one place? I'm a person that I've always wanted to, and I have a very large bucket list of places I would love to see. And of course, like everybody else who hasn't achieved those goals yet, there are lots of reasons why. Finances, life, work, dog, anywho. But one day I hope to accomplish some of those. Places I guess I want to go, I'll divide it up in three kind of categories. One's my artistic side. As for an artist, because I do reverse glass painting, I've always been, of recent, have been drawn to and want to go and actually visit the Venice Biennale in Italy. The Venice Biennale think of it as the Olympics for artists. Every country can send one, maybe two artists, and each one has a solo exhibition. They're all around Venice, the whole city, and it occurs, I think, every other year. But yeah, it's the Olympics for artists, and I really would love to go and just enjoy some of these work from these globally recognized artists. Another category again would be my writing side, and on top of that I'll add the fact that my heritage both kind of overlap in my passion to go see and visit Scandinavia. I would love to go and trace down and see all these places where the people of the Viking era existed. I'm Swedish by descent, so of course I want to go to Sweden. Norway is where the bulk of the Vikings came from. Iceland, I've heard it's absolutely beautiful there, and I would love to go visit there. The Faroe Islands, so I can, name a whole bunch, and I would love to do a tour of that region. And then I guess my passion for animals ever since I was very, very young made me highly interested and passionate about going to visit places like Kenya or the Galapagos or the Amazon to experience the native ecosystems. But yeah, so there are a lot of places I want to see. I'm sure everybody's kind of like that, and it's hard to pick one, so I'm going to just pick them all. Why can't I? That's my dream. Create your own bucket list and try to knock them off one at a time. But okay, so I need to cut myself off from rambling, and that's all the time I have. If you have a question for me, post it in the comments below or message me on social media. I'll drop some of those links down below as well. And until next time, Skål.